Wesley and Poole, let's talk about Gwent, the Witcher card game.
Okay.
To give it its full subtitle. This is a sort of a game we knew might be announced at E3. It had been rumoured there was a trademark that had gone out. And
yep, it was leaked.
Yeah, as everything was at this year's
Everything
E3.
was leaked this year.
And I think people are quite happy to see it.
Yeah. There's a lot of love for Witcher 3, obviously, and CD Projekt.
Yep.
And I think there's general goodwill towards them doing a spin-off for the card game.
Which helps a lot, because I think it strikes me that this is a very, very difficult time to launch a free-to-play card game that has a multiplayer focus. You're going up against Hearthstone. Yeah, and like as well as Hearthstone, we're seeing things like the Elder Scrolls having a crack at it, this Fable, Kickstarter.
Even RuneScape.
It's tricky, but CD Projekt seem to be one of the few that have managed to get past that noise and be like, hello, we're a massive deal, by the way.
Yeah.
You're going to be interested in this.
I think that's because it was a game within The Witcher 3,
yep.
which was a massive hit and a brilliant, fantastic game. So Witcher 3 players have already got an idea of what Gwent is anyway,
yep.
so it's not entirely new idea.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we went along to a sort of brief demo at E3 and played against each other a few games.
I went up against the strategy king himself.
Mate, you got shut down, my friend.
I did, yeah.
Oh God, people are going to think I actually...
You beat me.
Okay, yeah.
2 matches to 0.
Yeah, I think so I've played quite a bit of Gwent in The Witcher 3, and one of the things that you really have to get your head around, it's a game of 3 rounds, right?
Yeah.
And the card pool that you have needs to last across all 3 of those rounds. And there are certain cards that can get, draw a few more into your hand along the way, but really, you've got to be very, very careful.
You have to be really selective
when you want to
about
spend the
what you're
cards.
doing, yeah. This is something that I didn't really grasp.
Yep.
Because I came to it new, whereas you were the experienced strategy king. So, so I kind of just sort of spuffed my cards in the first.
I think everyone's
round.
first game goes like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you as the other player, you have to kind of let them do that, and then you can choose to pass the round and back out and
take the hit.
You take the hit on the first one, and you've got more cards for the last 2. And it will be interesting to see players with a lot of experience playing against each other in this game, and the kind of tactics that will go into deciding which rounds to have a real crack at.
Yeah.
I think that will be fun. It is kind of it's a little more complex to first get into than Hearthstone, I think.
Yeah, but then I think it's one of those things that you still can feel that once it clicks, there's a lot of depth there, and there was, I think, a huge appeal in working out its base systems and then going from there, which is the brilliance of Hearthstone, really, which is that once you sort of wrap your head around its systems, it's like a whole new world, right?
Sure, so. And they've definitely taken some inspiration on the board design and how they convey information to the player. It's quite a bit different to Gwent in The Witcher 3, which is, because they wanted to avoid the word minigame. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
which I thought was really cute.
Minigame.
It definitely was a minigame in The Witcher 3, and it looked like one. It was fairly basic, and
which is fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. This standalone version does a much better job of both looking a little more flashy and a little bit more exciting to watch, and also just making sure that the player knows exactly what numbers they need to care about and when. Which is
the user
useful.
Interface has been completely redone.
Yeah, that helps.
And the graphics of, like as you say, are much better than they were in The Witcher 3.
So one thing I did want to quiz you about, actually, you had an interview afterwards. I had to dash off, and you spoke to them about presumably the business model, so it's free to play.
Right, so I spoke to them about a whole host of things, but I guess the pertinent thing to talk about is the business model. So this is a free to play game.
Yeah.
Very much similar to the way Hearthstone works.
So they're going to sell card packs, you think?
It's card packs. You have card packs that you can buy with real world money as well as an in-game currency. Okay. Just like Hearthstone, that you can earn through. They haven't announced how you can actually earn the in-game currency. But through playing, I imagine.
I saw there were some premium cards they were talking about as well, which have a bit of an animation to them that are quite impressive. I imagine you'll either want to buy packs to get them,
or
so
you'll be able to buy them about that as well. So you will be. The guy I spoke to insisted it was a random inclusion in a card pack. Okay. And I was like, well, people probably want to give you money just so they can get the premium card. And he was like, oh, I don't think we're doing that. I'm not sure, sort of thing. Yeah. So all we know for sure right now is that you can definitely get them from random card packs. The thing to say about the card packs is that Gwent is doing something pretty interesting, I think, with the card pack system. You know, in normal collectible card games, you buy a card pack and it spits out maybe 5, 6 cards.
Yeah, they're completely random.
So Gwent is doing it a little differently. When you open a card pack, it shows you 3 cards that are I think rare quality or better.
Right.
And you pick one of those.
Right.
And the other 2 are discarded. And then the remaining cards are spat out at random as in other games.
I quite like that.
It's a really, I mean, you know, we're talking about a small change here that I think will have a really positive effect on the perception of this RNG, this randomness from card packs, that you'll have some element of control over the kind of rewards you get from a card pack. Now, it's not like you all of a sudden are going to be able to cherry pick from all of the cards or anything. It's not like
but it gives you a bit more.
But you do, I think it will help you feel a bit better about opening card packs and the random nature of it all.
I hope no one's playing a drinking game during this video for every time that we say Hearthstone. That'd be really weird if you are. But to compare it once more to Hearthstone,
it's the obvious comparison, right? I mean, you have to compare it.
In Gwent, you have various factions that you'll play as, similar to like playing as a class in Hearthstone. And the thing I like about that idea with the card packs is that if you play, if you main the Northern Realms in Gwent, it's nice to, like, when those cards hit, especially if they are rare or above, it means that, you can make sure that you get the cards you can actually
that relates
use.
to the faction you're using.
Because there's nothing worse than getting a really freaking rare, cool card for a class that you have no intention of playing.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons they're doing it, to help people who are trying to, I guess, complete their faction decks quicker than they would otherwise.
I'm impressed, and to be honest, CD Projekt, for The Witcher 3 especially, they've done a lot right by their community. Like the way they handled DLC, the way they've approached these bigger expansions, it's obviously been extremely successful for them, but you get the impression that they give a crap about their players as well.
It's
and
certainly
this game will need that.
Their reputation as being for their customers, basically.
Okay.
And it's great. I'm sure that will go down well.
Sure. Did you get any sense of how the competitive play will work? So this obviously has an online multiplayer component to this game.
All that they would say at this stage is that their matchmaking system has been designed to try and pair people up with similar skill levels. The suggestion was that your deck will play a part in the matchmaking. Okay. But in terms of specifics, they couldn't say anything, and the game isn't even in beta yet.
Yeah,
so.
having spoken a lot to the Overwatch team, as they've been working on their matchmaking system, they probably don't know yet. I think there's a lot of trial and error when it comes to matchmaking.
Yeah. I mean, like Hearthstone again. But the matchmaking for Hearthstone seems like a bit of a dark art, right? Mm-hmm. You click a button, you get this little tombola thing rolling around, and then all of a sudden you're matchmade with someone. So I would suspect it will be a similar thing, and there'll be a lot of work going on behind the scenes to try and get you paired up with similar skill levels. And I'm sure there'll be a ranking system as well.
I think to wrap up, one thing that did surprise me, I expected to hear about card packs and matchmaking. The thing I wasn't ready for was the single-player side of Gwent, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah, it's ridiculously so.
Showed us a campaign that sort of focuses around Geralt, but with some other new side characters. Yeah. And it was like 10 hours long and had a map, like an open map that you run around with a little Geralt on. It's just like, don't get blown away here. I mean, let's not compare it to the Witcher 3.
No, it's played from a top-down perspective, right? So it's not like you're actually playing The Witcher 3 or anything.
Sure, but I wasn't expecting anything like that. And
there are cutscenes and dialogue
and like a new story
this is a new story. It's set in the actual Witcher universe.
So they weren't quite done with Geralt then, because Gwent's going to have a little bit more of
them. Yeah. So in terms of sort of timeline, I don't think this is set after the last DLC or anything. So. When I spoke to CD Projekt about it, they were like, yeah, it's a bit overkill, isn't it?
Yeah, especially for a free-to-play
card
right?
game. I hadn't previously thought that this sort of thing was missing from card games. Yeah. I had thought the appeal of card games was the collectible nature of the cards, deck building and competitive play.
Sure.
But actually, I think there is scope for more story elements and a sort of single player, more easygoing experience that's not to do with competitive play, which for a lot of people can be difficult because you're not, you haven't either got all the best cards or you're just not as good as someone who you might get matched up against.
It's interesting as well because as far as I can tell, I don't know how they make money from the single player. It's not like you buy cards that influence that as far as we know. In fact, one of the things I really enjoyed about what they showed from the single player is that the deck you have during the campaign reflects the followers and the items that you've picked up along the way. So if they I can't quite remember the name of the cards, but say you get a guardsman or something, that guardsman is actually a character that you've encountered. And if you make the wrong dialogue option at some point, you could lose that character and you lose the card from your deck.
Well, the idea is that you're playing a commander of army.
Yeah.
So Gwent is basically armies going up against each other, which is a really cool
setup. So in
setup.
the example we saw, Geralt had been hired by a mercenary to help escort him through an area, and
was part
the mercenaries.
of the army.
That was his army, yeah.
Yeah, and you could play, and he was a card. Geralt was a card.
Yeah.
In the army, and you could play.
He's always been a card. Okay.
But the inspiration. I spoke to the guy who's creating the campaign, whose idea it was basically, who pitched it to the management as something they should do as well, and they gave him the go-ahead. And he said he was inspired by a wonderful strategy game called Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, which I played originally on the DS, but is available on pretty much every platform. Absolutely fantastic strategy game that has a very, very similar setup where you can, there's a storyline, you explore a map. There are nodes so you can't move around the map freely, but there are nodes that give it an element of like a sort of semi-open world. There's dialogue, cutscenes, and then when you trigger a battle, it's the actual gameplay. So you've got like armies playing against each other. It's not a card game, but this guy thought, well, why can't I just do something similar to that and have the sort of card battles as required? And the inspiration came from that game to create this campaign, which is fantastic news because I think Clash of Heroes is one of the greatest strategy games of all time, and the campaign really worked for that.
Yep.
So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I got a little bit of I've been playing the Banner Saga series recently, and that has a similar thing where half the game is the battles with the characters that you've collected, and the other half is a kind of a narrative-led thing where you make decisions, and your decisions can kill off characters, which you won't be able to use in the battles then. I just like it. And it sounds incredibly not greedy for a free-to-play card game to include a substantial campaign that looks good. So, Gwent, the Witcher card game, I don't think it's going to be the next Hearthstone kill. I don't think it even wants to be, but it looks pretty good.
Pretty promising.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see more of that. Do you know, did they give you any details on?
There's a plan for them to launch beta.
Okay.
I think it's on PC and Xbox first, and then it will follow on PlayStation.
All right, cool. Well, we'll look forward to that because I think it might be worth checking out.
Yeah, looks fun.
All right, cool.